Hello everyone. Today I have some spine-chilling stories to share with you. This is the first episode of the podcast, so if you enjoy these stories, it would be greatly appreciated if you gave the video a like and subscribed to the channel, so you are always ready for the next listen. If you have a story of your own which you would like to be read on the channel, please feel free to reach out to me. Details of how you can do this can be found in the description of the video. Now, with that being said, let's dive into the darkness. This first story is called The Whispering Picture. I found the old photograph at a yard sale. It was one of those faded black and white pictures, the kind that felt like it had 1,000 untold stories hidden behind its glass frame. It was a photo of a house, an old Victorian home, but something about it felt wrong. The trees surrounding the house were twisted, and the windows, those windows, seemed to stare back at me. I bought it on impulse, thinking I could make it a quirky decoration for my living room. That night, I hung the picture on the wall, next to my sofa. I didn't think much of it, just another oddity to add to the room. But when I sat down to relax, I couldn't help but glance at it. The shadows around the house seemed darker than they should be, and the more I looked, the more the house seemed alive. It wasn't like the photo was changing, but the longer I stared, the more details emerged. I could even swear the door was slightly open. Around midnight, I woke up to the sound of soft whispers coming from the direction of the picture. I wasn't sure if I was dreaming at first, but I could hear it again. Faint, eerie voices, whispering things that I couldn't quite make out. I tried to ignore it, telling myself it was just the wind or my imagination, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone. The whispers grew louder, until they were no longer just whispers, they were words coming from the photo. I stood up, my heart pounding, and as I moved closer to the picture, I could see movement. There, in the window of the house, a face was staring back at me. Its eyes weren't hollow like I'd seen before. They were alive. I could feel its gaze like it was reaching out to me, calling me. I tried to look away, but I couldn't. The house seemed to lean forward, as if it was growing, pulling me in. Then, without warning, the figure in the window smiled, and its whispers turned into a low, guttural voice.
"Come inside. We've been waiting for you."
In this moment, I tried to rip the frame from the wall. I guess it was adrenaline or something, but the picture wouldn't budge. My hands were trembling, the room growing colder with every passing second. The face in the window grinned wider, and I could hear it clearly now.
"You are a part of the house now."
It was then that I realized something horrible. I wasn't staring at a picture anymore. I was staring into another world, and whatever was in that house, whatever was waiting for me, was about to step through. This next story is called The Good Samaritan of Route 9. I've told myself a dozen times that this was just a coincidence. That's what the police said, eventually. But you know the feeling when the hair on your arm stands up before you even realize you're in danger? That biological alarm that screams, "Run"? You can't fake that. This happened 3 years ago, in late November. I was driving back to college after Thanksgiving break. It was that awkward time of night, Around 2 a.m, where the highways are empty and the radio stations start fading into static, I decided to take a shortcut off the interstate to avoid a construction backup. My GPS took me down a 2-lane blacktop, one of those roads where the trees hang over the asphalt like a tunnel. It started sleeting, that heavy, wet mix that turns windshields into blurry messes. I was exhausted. I admit I might have dozed off for a microsecond, or maybe I hit a patch of black ice. Either way, my Honda Civic spun. It was a slow, sickening rotation until I slid backward off the shoulder and crunched into a drainage ditch. The silence after the engine died was deafening, just the tick, tick, tick of the cooling metal and the wet slap of sleet on the roof. I tried to start the car, nothing, just a hollow click. I checked my phone, no service, of course. I sat there for maybe 20 minutes, shivering, watching my breath fog up the glass. Then I saw headlights. Twin beams cut through the darkness behind me. A pickup truck slowed down and pulled onto the shoulder about 50 feet away. It idled there. The lights were blinding in my rearview mirror. I felt a rush of relief. I unbuckled my seatbelt and reached for the door handle. But then I stopped. My dad was a cop for 30 years, and his voice popped into my head.
"Stay in the car. Keep the doors locked until you see a badge."
The truck door opened. A man stepped out. He was backlit by his headlights, so I couldn't see his face, just a silhouette. He was big. He wore a heavy jacket and a baseball cap. He walked toward my car, his boots crunching loudly on the gravel. He didn't walk to my window. He walked to the back of my car, and he just stood there for a long time, looking at my bumper. Then he walked to the passenger side window and tapped on the glass. I cracked it a fraction of an inch. "I'm okay," I yelled out, trying to sound confident. "My dad is on his way. He's a police officer." A lie, obviously. The man smiled. It wasn't a nice smile, though. It was tight and strained. He looked to be about 40, clean-shaven, normal-looking. He said,
"You're stuck, ain't you?
His voice was calm.
Phone's probably dead out here, ain't it? This is a dead zone."
"I got a signal." I lied again. "He's 10 minutes out." The man laughed. It was a dry, sharp sound.
"There hasn't been a signal in this valley since '98, sweetheart. Come on, hop in my truck. I've got a heater and a tow chain."
"I'm fine waiting," I said. My hand was gripping the door lock so hard my knuckles were white.
"Don't be stupid,"
he snapped. The mask slipped for a second.
"You'll freeze. Open the door."
He stared at me through the crack in the window. His eyes drifted down the lock, then back up to my eyes. He reached into his jacket pocket. I braced myself for a gun. Instead, he pulled out a set of keys. He held them up and jingled them.
"I'm just trying to help."
He took a step back, raising his hands in a mock surrender.
"Suit yourself. Freezing is a stupid way to go."
He turned and walked back to his truck. I watched him get in. He put the truck in gear. I expected him to drive away. He didn't, though. He reversed. He backed his truck up until his rear bumper was inches from my front bumper. He killed his engine, and he turned off his headlights. Now we were both in the dark. He just sat there. I could see a glow of a cigarette in his cab. He was waiting. 10 minutes passed, then 20. The temperature was dropping rapidly. My toes were numb. I saw the cigarette glow flare up as he took a drag. He was watching me. Then he opened his door again. This time he didn't walk to my window. He walked to his truck bed. I heard the sound of metal dragging on metal. He came back into view holding a tire iron. He didn't rush. He walked slowly to my driver's side door. He didn't say a word. He just raised the iron and smashed my side mirror. I screamed, and he smiled, staring right at me through the glass. He raised the iron again, aiming for the window. Suddenly, blue and red lights flooded the trees. The state trooper came flying around the curve, sirens blaring. The man froze. He dropped the tire iron immediately. The trooper pulled up, shouting over the PA system. The man put his hands up, looking confused, playing the innocent helper again. I scrambled out of the car, running toward the officer, sobbing. Here is the part that keeps me awake at night. They ran his ID. He had no warrants. He claimed he was trying to break the window to save me because I was unresponsive from hypothermia. Since he hadn't actually hurt me yet, and it was his word against mine in a terrified state, they let him go with a warning for a broken mirror. The trooper gave me a ride to the nearest town. As we were driving away, the trooper casually mentioned something to make conversation. "Lucky we came by," he said. "We got a call from a landline about a mile up the road. An older lady said she saw a car spin out." I nodded, grateful. Thank God for her. "Yeah," the trooper said, "but the weird thing is, she said she saw a car spin out, and she saw the truck push it." I froze. "What?" "She said the truck was driving behind you with its lights off. She said he tapped your bumper right on the curve, sent you spinning." I thought about the man's smile, and about how he knew exactly where the dead zone was. But the worst part, 2 days later, I went to the impound lot to get my personal belongings out of the wrecked Civic. I found something tucked under my windshield wiper, placed there before the tow truck had arrived. It was a Polaroid photo. It was a picture of me, taken through the window of a gas station. I was buying a coffee. The timestamp on the bottom was from 3 hours before the crash. See, he hadn't just found me on that road. He had been following me for 100 miles, and since the police never filed charges, he's still out there. This next story is called The Guest in the Attic. When I first moved into the house, I noticed the attic. It was an old house, and there were signs it had been abandoned for some time. Dusty, with cobwebs everywhere, the attic felt strange, almost oppressive, like the air had been trapped up there for decades. I never gave it much thought at first. I had my hands full unpacking and settling in, the usual things you get up to whenever you're moving into a new home. But after a few nights, I started to hear noises coming from the attic. At first it was small things, scratching sounds, like something was moving around up there. But it didn't stop. Every night, at the same time, the noises would start. Scratching, dragging, like something or someone was crawling around. One night, unable to take it any longer, I decided to check it out. I grabbed a flashlight and made my way to the attic door. As soon as I opened it, a thick, musty smell hit me. The darkness in the attic seemed alive, and the shadows felt like they were moving. I hesitated, but curiosity got the best of me. I climbed the creaky stairs and entered the attic. The floorboards groaned under my feet as I walked around. The flashlight was flickering in my hand too. This attic was filled of old boxes, furniture covered in sheets, and piles of forgotten belongings. But there was something more. A shape? An outline? Lurking in the far corner. I turned my flashlight toward it, and that's when I saw it. It was a mannequin, but it wasn't like any mannequin I'd seen before. This one was twisted, its limbs contorted in unnatural angles, and its face frozen in a grotesque expression. And what really made me freeze was the fact that it was positioned as if it had been watching me for days. Suddenly, the scratching sound started again, only this time it was coming from the far corner of the room, right behind the mannequin. My heart pounded as I shined the light on the spot. There, in the shadows, I saw something move. A figure, hunched over, crawling towards me. It was human, sort of. Its body was twisted and wrong, like a puppet whose strings had been cut. It had long, pale fingers that scraped the floor, and its face was hidden behind matted hair. The only thing I could make out was its smile. It was wide, too wide, unnaturally wide, and its teeth, jagged, yellow, and stained. I tried to back away, but the stairs were too far. The figure let out a low, rasping laugh as it crawled closer, its eyes gleaming in the dark, and then it stopped. It reached out and touched the mannequin. In an instant, the mannequin's head snapped to face me. It blinked, its mouth opened, and in a voice that wasn't its own, it whispered one word.
Stay.
This next story is called The Man in the Mirror. I've always been a little paranoid about mirrors. Maybe it's because of the stories I've heard, or maybe it's just the fear of seeing something that isn't supposed to be there. But when I moved into my new apartment, I didn't have much of a choice. The bathroom mirror was old, the kind with a tarnished frame, and it covered the entire wall above the sink. Safe to say I hated it immediately, but there wasn't much I could do. It was already there, and I had more important things to worry about at the time. At first it was nothing. I would brush my teeth, wash my face, and occasionally catch a glimpse of myself in the mirror, but over time I started noticing things, small details, like how my reflection would move just a second late, or how my face seemed to twitch unnaturally when I wasn't even doing anything. It was subtle at first, and I convinced myself I was imagining things, but then came a night where I saw it. I was getting ready for bed. The lights in the bathroom dimmed as usual. When I glanced at the mirror, my reflection was wrong. Definitely wrong. It wasn't that it was distorted, but something felt off. The person in the mirror wasn't quite me. It was like looking at a version of myself that wasn't connected to reality. I blinked, and it blinked back. I froze, staring at my reflection. For a long moment, nothing happened, but then, slowly, deliberately, it smiled. Not my smile, though. It was twisted, unnerving, like something was trying to mimic me but couldn't get it right. I turned away, convinced it was just a trick of the light. But the next night, it happened again. This time, the reflection didn't smile. It moved. I was standing there, brushing my hair, and my reflection started to act on its own. It raised a hand and pressed it against the mirror, its fingers slowly trailing down the glass, leaving streaks of something that wasn't water. I backed away, my heart racing, but the reflection stayed. It stayed there, staring at me, and in the dim light, I could swear I saw it whispering my name. I rushed out of the bathroom, slamming the door behind me. I thought I was safe, being out of sight of the mirror, but that night as I lay in bed, I heard it again, soft tapping, like someone was knocking at my window, but I lived on the 3rd floor, so there was no way. I opened my eyes and looked towards the bathroom. The mirror was cracked, and through it I could see, standing behind me, just out of view, its hands pressed against the glass, its face inches from mine. The reflection was smiling. And it wasn't me anymore. It was something else. That's the end of episode 1. Thanks for listening. If you have any stories of your own which you would like to share with me, my email is in the description of this video. Also, if you're feeling generous, a like and a subscription would be greatly appreciated. A lot of hard work went into this first episode of the podcast, and there are many more to come. That's it from me today. See you on the next episode.